When I was first contemplating water, one of the key things I was thinking about is how does water shape us, and then how do we shape water?
Water's been shaping us for millennia, and now we're shaping water in very significant ways. Who's winning?
Well, with 7 billion and counting, I think nature's in retreat, and we're obviously kind of winning the game for the time being. We are firmly in control of the rivers, damming them, redirecting them on a scale that was unimaginable 200 years ago.
Sometimes Mother Nature fights back. I've been watching lately.
Well, building in floodplains, which is great for nice loamy soil and nice flat land to put houses on, but that's exactly where excess water tends to go. Katrina, which was a Category 5, carried much more water, and so when the storm hit land, it had a ferocity that was rarely seen before.
What's your criteria for choosing a shot or a subject?
Several things. One, that has to be relevant to the idea of water, that something's going on, and usually it's a large example. So if I'm looking at a dam in China, it's the largest arch dam ever attempted, 6 times the size of Hoover Dam. So the kind of scale is always an important thing. And then visually, is it interesting as well? Like farming is the largest scale thing that we do in the world. And where is water being used in these farms, both sustainable and unsustainable? This is following the contours of the hills. Mm-hmm. So it's rice terracing, which is known throughout Asia. It's a known way to harvest mountainsides. In the spring, when it's full of water, they raise eels and frogs, which they harvest just before they plant the rice. Right. It's protein in the early spring, and then it's grains, throughout the summer. So it's all been, this is, thousands of years. So if it was going to die out, it would have died out by now.
When you're crafting a shot, there's a lot of, technical work that has to happen. Often you have to get up very, very high. Did you follow Chris Hadfield? Were you jealous of the height he got from the spaceship when he was taking his pictures?
Well, I've thought about it, and it is, there's a perspective, there's a distance that I kind of like. That's a little too far. I'm interested in the fact that you can actually see humans and oxen and the process, because I want to show, in a way, the more nuanced human mark on the landscape.
Have there been situations that you've gone into where you've just been emotionally overcome by the sheer magnitude of what you're seeing?
Yeah, well, yeah. I was. There was a certain fear going through China, thinking, where is this all going? To me, the metaphor was it's like a runaway train going down a mountainside with no brakes. They're building 1,000 megawatt coal plants per week, so that's 50 per year, and year after year after year. And each one of these is emitting an enormous amount of dirty coal.
So what do you say to people who are climate change deniers?
The first thing I'd say is they're not understanding the data properly. I think they're not looking, they're looking to someone who's, supporting some ideas that are in such an extreme minority. It's almost like being a creationist. They have to deny all the fossils from millions and millions of years of accumulated fossils to say, yeah, the Earth started 6,000 years ago. It's the same kind of, if you're there and you're denying, it's that same kind of belief system that says, well, it can't be us.
When you return to Canada, are you buoyed or disappointed in our own stewardship here?
I'm quite discouraged. I think that there's so much more we can do in terms of leadership. The boreal forest is equal to the Amazon forest. The scientists think of them as the left and right lungs of the planet. Mm-hmm. So we're in charge of one of the lungs, and what are we doing with that
and
lung?
The water.
And the water. And there's 2 million lakes that we're custodians of. We're going to have a hard time, I think, in the not too distant future, of preventing massive migration coming to this country because of the Great Lakes and because of the water that we have here.
When you think about your legacy and the impact that your work has had already, how do you imagine you'll be remembered?
I guess because for 30 years I've been trying to raise awareness through my art about the fact that there is this other side to our urban existence. There is this place out there in nature, and that nature is being pushed back. If anything, if I feel there is a legacy, it's to reconnect those places back into our urban consciousness, so we understand that, to every action there's a reaction. With the sun, the earth, its relationship to it, and the amount of energy still left in the sun, they figure there's at least 1 billion more years of potential life on this planet. It's here to stay. The question is, are we here to stay?